Hi, welcome back to our second episode of the Garden of Storytelling. My name is Bopha.
And I'm Sully.
And today we are going to discuss the Lunar New Year and what we did this weekend. So
yeah, happy Lunar Year, everybody, and everybody around the world.
Yes, happy Lunar New Year. It is the year of the rabbit.
Yeah, we have a rabbit in this house.
How would you describe our little rabbit?
Lucky? He is lucky. I think he's a really lucky kid.
Because he puts
witty.
in little work and is lucky.
He's pretty witty.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a smart mouth too.
Yeah, he likes to blame everything and anyone for anything that goes wrong in his life.
But that's not a rabbit characteristic. That's a Maxwell characteristic.
Yeah, no, but he's a witty kid, and I freaking love talking to him. He's funny. He said that someday he's going to come on our show and have us interview him.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens.
So anyways, I'm Cambodian and I don't celebrate Lunar New Year. I didn't growing up until I met you. So Can you tell me a little bit about what you remember, how you guys celebrated the Lunar New Year when you were little?
The Lunar New Year is a very, very important aspect to our people. It's just like anything else, right? It's the beginning of the year, and it's supposed to be a time where you celebrate with your family and talk about and bring about all the traditions in regards to asking our ancestors to watch over us and take care of us and provide us with good luck for the coming year.
Okay.
And it's just a lot of good things to remember as a kid. The biggest thing I remember, obviously, everybody knows this about Lunar New Year.
I already know what's going to come out of your mouth because your kids said this today.
Yeah, you already know. Give me those red envelopes.
They go, how many red envelopes do you think we're going to have today? I was like, not a lot.
They're getting too old now, right? Like when you're younger, you get all the red envelopes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously as little kids, we'd always expect the red envelopes. And what we would do with our red envelopes, we played cards.
Like every Asian household.
Listen, we'd play cards and the older cousins and, uncles and what, be like, okay, nope, you guys can't play. I'm like, oh no, we want to play. We got money now, right? And then we'd beg them to play. And they'd be like, no, we're not going to let you play. Because if we take your money, we are literally taking your money. So
That's funny. So you were trying to play with the older people.
Oh, yeah.
So you weren't trying to have your own like little kid pile.
We did our little kid pile thing,
Okay.
but somebody already won it, and then you'd go take it to the adult pile. So that's what
Oh
would
my
happen. It'd be like,
gosh.
oh, let's play together. And then we'd play together, play our little card games made up, and, always the oldest cousins and siblings took the money.
Yeah.
And then that's when you'd try to go play with the adults, and they'd be like, no, you're not playing with us. I'll tell you this one time I played with my grandma and her friends. I think it's called red cards. I'm not 100% sure
Yes.
what it is.
Yes. Where you pair it with like another number that makes the number 10.
Something like that. But in our language, we call it tham dang. Just, and literally I remember crying to play with these old ladies. And they were like, no, we're not going to take your money. And they're telling my grandma, get your grandson. We're not playing with him.
Okay. How old were you?
Dude, I don't know. I was young. I don't know, probably 8.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I just kept on trying to play. And they're like, all right, fine, go ahead, play. Put your money down. And sure enough, they took my money.
That's funny.
And then I started crying. They're like, we told you not to play with us. We're not giving back your money. So I learned my lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
They kept my money. I never played cards again after that.
With them
day.
old ladies.
Those ladies took my money.
Every little kid that I know that plays with their Christmas money, their New Year money, someone always cries every single time, and it looks like you're one of them. That's
man,
crazy.
gambling in the Asian household is like like second nature.
It is, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy because it's just something that it's always been in our tradition.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why or where it came from. I just know that was a part of our culture.
Yeah.
And it still is.
And
still is
it is still
prevalent.
is. Yeah.
in our Asian culture to gamble
Yeah.
often.
And especially at times of gathering. So like,
Oh yeah.
which is crazy because like even like when you guys have handis and stuff for
Oh, yeah.
funerals,
Yep.
that people come to gamble. And when I first saw it, because like Cambodians, at least the one, like I guess I didn't go to a lot of those when I was younger, so I didn't really know what to expect. So I just thought like when you go to like a place like a handi that it'll be like a place of like remembering and like
Yeah.
sharing like memories and things like that. But there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of gambling, there's a lot of
Yeah, it's just a celebration,
It's-
obviously,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's a celebration of life.
Yep.
And
Yep.
every
Yeah.
family and culture, they're adapting to now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
being in America, you kind of change some of those traditions that you're
Yes.
doing because again, it's not feasible to go 7 days. People have jobs and stuff here.
Yeah.
Back in the home country, like listen, they did 7 days off. It was just what it was, right?
Yeah.
So, but now here in the United States, it is a little bit different. You can see the tradition changing in regards to that.
Yeah.
And also the way that we look at gambling has changed too, because it's a lot different. You gotta understand, back in the home country when you didn't have, responsibilities in regards to working every day.
Yeah.
Because you got to think about it. It's third world country.
Yep.
They don't have stuff to do every day. There's not a job that per se people go to every day on the regular basis unless you work for the government or something of that nature, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. So going back to your Lunar New Year celebration when
Yeah.
you were little, like who was all there? Like who was at your house? It was at your parents' house?
It would, most of the times when we had Lunar New Year, it's always your immediate family, right? So your
Okay.
parents, your children and your grandchildren,
Okay.
if you had grandchildren. So that was kind of how I remember doing it. I mean, my uncle and aunt would be there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would be pretty big, but as I've gotten older, it has, again, it's going back to
The tradition.
the tradition. You kind of lose a little bit of tradition. Everybody kind of goes into their immediate families,
Yeah.
and you kind of lose that big group of gatherings that we used to have. It's just not as feasible as it used to be.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting. And then what kind of foods did you guys have?
traditionally, it's kind of like I wouldn't say sacrifice, right? It's kind of a ceremony where you're going to have, you bring a pig, a roasted pig, or 2 chickens, or something of that nature, and you're just basically inviting your ancestors' energy to come and rejoin you for New Year's. I mean, just like Mulan, right? I mean, you've ever
I haven't
seen?
seen Mulan.
You never seen Mulan? You're kidding me.
Have you?
Of course.
I need to watch it.
You got to watch Mulan then.
I barely watch TV, but
How have you not watched Mulan with the kids? You fell
Unless-
asleep. You fell asleep. You fell asleep. Oh
because
my God.
sometimes when you're a mom, sometimes the only time you can sleep is when you're watching a movie with the kids.
We're watching Mulan tonight.
I'm down.
All right. But so Mulan, same thing. You're basically praying to your ancestors to come and rejoin you for New Year's and giving them offering of food and things like that. It's kind of like a ceremony.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're just it's like a bun, kind of like how you guys do it for
Yes.
certain.
Well, so yesterday when we had our friends over, they were meeting their family at midnight to do that, and then we didn't go to your dad's until
everybody does it a
afternoon.
little bit different.
So it is it different by like cultures, or is it different by families?
I think family households. Everybody does it. Again, tradition changes based off of, what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So my dad's an old man. He's not going to be up at
Midnight.
12 o'clock at midnight. He's just like, we'll do this in the morning. It's okay. Like, he'll do it in the morning, and we normally have lunch. That's kind of how he's always done it. So that's what he's always has done.
Yeah. And something interesting that I've been with you for 19 years, and I just noticed it today. So I think looking back, I probably did it inappropriately too. so I know you guys light incense to your ancestors.
Yes.
And you do 3 of them, right?
Well, 3 because my dad is inviting my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom.
So it's 1 for each person.
1 for each person.
Got
That's
it.
just how, I mean, again, you could light as many as you want. It doesn't matter. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I can't tell you if that's even it's just more so like, hey, we're representing 3 here in this household that we're inviting in.
Yeah.
And to come in and eat with us.
Okay. So I saw that, like Doug was doing it, which is your brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, am I supposed to do it too? And then your
Yeah.
sister was like, oh, no, only the kids do it, the daughters, and then the son-in-law can do it, but the daughters-in-law cannot.
Yeah, I don't know about all that stuff.
Well,
Okay.
so then I asked her and I go, so how come that is? I just want to know.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, then in my head, I was like, I know that I did this a few years ago, if not last year. I'm like,
Right.
I know I done effed up.
Yeah, those are the things that, again, tradition.
Yeah.
No one really knows how there's. I mean, there's so many different rules,
Yeah.
right? Like you can't sit at the head of the table. My dad had
Well,
to
what's
sit
the
at
head? Where's the head of the table?
near the in our house. It was near the
The pictures and stuff at the table.
right
Yes.
the table, right? So
Oh, interesting. Because you remember when I first started dating
yeah, you can't sit by my
I
dad.
sat next to your dad.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah,
I have
wanna
no
know.
idea.
I'm gonna ask.
Yeah, you can ask them. I have no idea. I just do it, right? Like those are some things that I just do because listen,
They just tell you,
they
but
tell
they
me
don't
what to do.
explain it.
I don't need to know. Like, listen, you don't want me sitting there? I'm not supposed to sit there? All right, then, fuck it. I'm just gonna get up and sit on the other, just like Doug today. I tell him like, hey, you can't sit there. Doug's like, oh, all right,
I'll just
I
get
can.
up.
He's like, I can drink beer anywhere.
And Doug is Sully's brother-in-law. He's Caucasian. And
Dude, he's hilarious.
So
he's
funny.
like, yeah, he's like, hey, there ain't no difference where I sit. I can drink beer anywhere I sit.
Yeah. So it's me and him that usually don't understand anything that's going on when you guys
Yeah.
are speaking in Taidam.
Yeah.
And I know like Taidam, I know our viewers, our people that knows us will know
Yeah.
what Taidam is. Can you tell us a little bit what Taidam is? Because I think the world does not know.
Man, I honestly, guys.
You don't have to say the whole thing, but you can
all I
give
know
a
is that
little-
we're a subculture, right? So what I do know is that we are originally probably from Indochina. Per 23andMe, it says that we're the Chinese Dai, not Thai, right?
Chinese
TAI. That's DAI.
DAI. So Chinese dye.
Yep.
So not Thai dumb. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but Taidam is so basically there's like 6 different Indo-Chinese subcultures essentially, right? This is what I've just from my own research. I'm not hey, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but send me some stuff because I don't know. I'd love to know more. But what I do know is that a lot of our people were, when France had colonized the Indochina area, they had also given land that was in Vietnam to the part of the Chinese Dai people, which was divided into different basically subcultures, right? Everybody
Yeah.
got their own piece of land and whatnot, and that's kind of how it became. So we're basically a displaced people, right? Kind of, we don't have a country per se.
Yeah.
Right? So we lived in Vietnam for a while. With all the wars and whatnot, I mean, with things started happening. I mean, it happened a lot earlier. A lot of Taidam people moved into Laos, from what
Yeah.
I've heard, was like in the 1940s.
Yeah, because Dad just told me that today that they moved to Laos for 25 years from Vietnam.
Yes, my dad was in Laos, I think, starting when he was like 14 years old.
Yes. So he had, so everybody was born in Laos, all your siblings besides you and Den. So you and Den were born in the United States. And
Yep.
then because we had the confusion that your oldest brother, Itam,
Yeah.
was born in Vietnam, but he wasn't. He was actually they were all born in Laos.
Yeah. No, they were all born in Laos. So
Yeah.
they're all, Vientiane, I believe, is where they're at. Vientiane, Laos.
It's interesting.
Yep.
Do you ever have a desire to go visit like the homeland?
I can't say there's a desire because I don't know nothing of it. So it's nothing for me to miss. Per se, everybody's here. My family, my friends. I mean,
So you don't have any family members.
I think on my dad's side, there's some cousins he may have.
Okay.
Some nephews or something of that nature.
Okay.
But again, I don't know of it. And so what I don't know is I can't miss it, right? Like I'm sorry.
And then there's me that's never been to Cambodia until I was 18 years old. Show up there and starts crying, meeting all my family members I never knew I had.
Yeah.
I like just had this weird connection with them. Like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like you're my, like I can see the straight teeth. I can see the, like the bushy eyebrows. I can
Did you
see,
just say that you have straight teeth?
yeah, because in Cambodia, like, people don't have, like they don't go to the. I don't know. Maybe they don't go to the dentist. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, but when I showed up to my dad's side of the family, I was like,
You can see the genetic makeup.
the genetic makeup. I
Okay.
was like, oh my
makes
God, we
sense.
all have straight teeth.
Which a lot of your family members do have straight teeth.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I didn't realize that, and so it's just like interesting when you don't know your family members, and then all of a sudden you reunite with them,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh dang, we look alike.
Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing about genetics in general,
Yeah.
right? Like when you start thinking about and looking back at the past, think about it like 2 generations up, you may have a grandpa or a grandma or a, great great grandpa, grandma or great uncle or something that you may even look like or your children look like
Yes.
or carry a gene or a trait that they may have had.
Yeah. I mean, look at like our oldest Sullivan.
Yeah.
He is, oh, how tall is he? Like five.
He's
Five
probably
right now?
5'5", 5'6" right now.
Yeah, and so like you're 5'6", I'm 5. I think I'm 5'3", but
5'5" and a half.
I think I'm 5'2.5" too, but I like to round it up to 5'3". So now that he's 13 years old and he just shot up in the last year, everyone's like, where did he get his height from? Well, I took my mom to the doctor maybe last week, and we were just talking about Sullivan's height, and she brought up these photos of her uncles and her aunt, and I remember her aunt because she actually came to America.
Right.
Or she lived in America.
Right.
And so she was really tall, and all of her daughters, which they're my mom's cousins, are super tall. And then I realized,
Well, in Asian standards, super tall.
it's like, well, yeah, like 5'8" and above. Okay, like that's tall. Okay, like I mean, you're average.
No, I'm not average. I'm short. I mean, should I say that's what she said right there? I'm just the average. Okay, no, I'm a shorty. I'm definitely a shorty.
guess you are.
Average is like
But, like, I guess-
5'8" for Asians.
Okay, so next to me, you're not a shorty because I'm already a shorty. So okay, interesting. But yeah, anyways, talking about Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where he gets his height from. Is from my mom's side of the mom's side of the family.
Yeah,
and dad.
more than likely. I mean, because most of my family members are short. My mom's short. My dad's short.
Yeah.
From what I know, my grandparents are short. My tallest sibling is like 5'8", 5'9".
No wonder our lucky rabbit is mad at you. Our lucky rabbit, which is Maxwell, okay, he one day came home from school. So his friends were all tall. He's like the shortest of all of his friends.
Yep.
He came home one day. He was so mad at us for being short.
Yeah.
Because he's not growing and he needs Pediasure is what he said we needed to give him because his friend Mason at the time was tall, but he wasn't like packing on the pounds. And so his mom was giving him Pediasure. So he came home and was like, they're tall because they have Pediasure. You never buy us Pediasure. And I'm like,
what? You ain't getting no Pediasure. You better chill out, dude.
and he even cried. Was it last year or the year before at their checkup? And so basically at their yearly checkup, they'll predict what they'll be when they are full adults. Well, Maxwell got told that he was going to be what?
5'8".
5'8".
I said,
He
cry me a
cried.
river. 5'8". Like, I wish I was 5'8". I was like, shoot, give me the 5'8" status. Man.
You'll even take 5'7", boy.
What? Hey, seriously. I just said, being 5'5.5", come on, man. I'm a shorty.
Hey,
Ain't nothing wrong with it, though.
there's nothing wrong with shorties. I used to not. I was never attracted to guys that were short before. No. Like one of my requirements was that the guy that I date
Okay, keep going.
is going to be super tall, and then I meet this guy. And now you know what's so funny? I think
Keep
I don't
going.
even look at height no more. Like it's the craziest thing.
Well, you better not be looking at height no more. Shoot. Yeah, you done past that stage of looking at height.
But you know what I mean? Like it's so crazy that you can have this like criteria of what you want in a person. But do you really know what you want in a person? You really don't, you know? So like I used to say, okay, so some of the things I would say would be he needs to be tall, he needs to have nice teeth, he needs to have clean shoes. What for? I have no idea why I said
had none of
that.
those. Man, I'm lucky, dude. I must be really good.
Oh my gosh.
I knew I got a slick tongue.
Wait, what was your requirements?
I have no requirements. Never have I ever had a requirement.
You didn't
No.
at all?
I had none. That's why you made it.
I probably. Oh my God, that's probably. I think I got all of mine from like either TV or like magazines.
Well, hell yeah, you was watching 90210.
No, I was watching stupid stuff that made no damn sense.
MTV, my bad.
I know.
MTV.
Yeah. So that's funny.
You know what
Well,
I mean? So what do you think about the new Lunar New Year thing? Do you enjoy it?
I do.
Now that you celebrate it with us?
Yes, I love it. Okay, so here's another thing. So since I'm American, I'm Cambodian, and now I'm Thai Dum, I have 3 New Years I get to celebrate. So
Me
so
too.
basically, you do too. So if I don't start off right in the American one, I just wait till the Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
Then after that, if that doesn't work out, then I'll go to the Cambodian New Year. So I have a few months, to really get my shit together. Yeah. and so I love it. But
You know what's crazy about so we went to Cambodia for the Khmer New Year.
yes, it was after my dad died.
Yes,
6
after
years
Dad passed
ago.
away. Yes.
Mhm. And we went during the Cambodian New Year, and that was a bucket list of mine, was to be able to go to see how they celebrate, because it's so different here.
Dude.
Here, the way we celebrate in Iowa is that we go to the temple.
Yeah.
And then we have like an evening party, and that's about it, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
that's like us too. I mean, same
is that
thing.
okay? But we don't. But what the crazy thing is, we don't get together with families at home like you guys do.
Yeah, because
we
that's
go to
not
the
your guys'
temple.
tradition, right? Because
yeah.
remember, Khmer people is based off of
Religion?
a religion base, right? It's same thing with the Lao. So the Lao and Khmer
Yeah.
New Year's the same thing.
So do they not do anything at their homes either, like we do? Like we
I
don't?
think they do, but it's just not as prevalent as like the Lunar New Year, because the Lunar New Year is it's really focused on that tradition of your ancestors, right?
Okay.
That's part of that. The
But
whole
ours is too. There's a lot of ancestry things, like, and we do like the ceremonies.
it is,
and
but
we
it is
do-
more Buddhist type ceremonies and things of that nature that are involved with your guys' New Year's. It's actually, I think it's the water festival.
It is.
So, but so when we went to Cambodia that year,
That was fun.
if you guys haven't been to Southeast Asia Laos or Cambodia for a New Year's there,
so fun,
dude, it's so
Our
fun.
friend was at the was in Laos
Yeah.
during the same time, and so we were watching his snaps, and it was wild just as ours.
It was so cool.
It was really neat. It was crazy because, like, okay, so in the city in Phnom Penh, it was so quiet. Remember, we went to Siem Reap for the New Year, and that place was just crazy. Like, most people are going back to their homeland, so they go back to their
Their home
country,
country, the countryside.
Yep, like their different provinces, and
provinces,
stuff.
yeah.
And so the city was really, really quiet. And when we went to Siem Reap, it was so funny because you were like, "Do you want to go out to like Pub Street?" And I was like, "Sure, like we can go."
Yeah, this place called Pub Street was awesome.
Yeah, so we start walking out, and of course, like, I naturally always smile at people, at things, like, I just always smile. And I guess if
Always smiling at people.
so I guess if you're smiling, what they do to you is they took powder, and remember,
let's go back a little bit. So basically, for the whole week, the whole country shuts down.
oh yes,
We're not even talking about just the whole country literally takes a week off.
Yeah.
And during this time, they're celebrating New Year's. And what they're doing, it's kind of like the water festival thing.
Yeah.
Everybody has water guns.
That's right, I forgot about
They
that.
have shaving cream.
Yes.
So that's they have baby powder.
Powder. Yes, and I got soaked. I got powdered.
She got powdered. So what you were doing is she was smiling. We're just walking down this alley and we're just laughing. And this guy comes up to her and he's like,
He goes, what? He said in Cambodian. He asked me why. He goes, why is my smile so big?
yeah, he goes, why are your smile so big? And he goes, then he got her with
Oh my God.
some what do you call it?
Baby powder.
Not just baby powder, shaving cream.
I don't remember shaving cream. I really remember the.
Oh, he got
baby
you some
powder.
shaving cream too.
Really?
Baby powder and shaving cream. Get you the shaving cream, then put the baby powder in.
Oh my God, it was
Yeah, it was a good
crazy.
time.
And I had on a white shirt because I
Yeah.
didn't know that this was going to happen. So I felt like I was in a white t-shirt contest.
Hey, I was right in the mix.
I know.
Dude.
Well, remember, so we went with my nephew, and you two love to kick it. I am more of like a chill person. So remember how they had like a bunch of people on the street?
Dude, I mean, I'm talking about there was in that street, there had been at least 10,000 people.
Oh, and this guy went straight in
I went
there.
straight in the
I
mosh
was like,
pit.
yeah,
right into
I
the
did
middle.
not.
I don't know if I still have footage from it. I had a GoPro with me. and I had an extension I put up in there. It was so cool, but I was right in the mix. It was like it was wild.
Oh, if we find it, we'll put it in.
Yeah, I'll look for it. Cool. It was so cool.
I know I have that picture of me smiling and with the powder all over me.
I'm pretty sure we have some photos. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
That was 2017.
2017.
Okay, cool.
So so it was very, very different. It felt like a wild event compared to how we celebrate here. But that was fun.
That was fun though. I had a great time.
Yeah. Well, I know like with the Lunar New Year, I don't know if you saw the news, but my niece sent me a news article today that there was a shooting that happened in Monterey Park, California.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Did you read it?
I didn't read it all, but I just seen that there's 10 people that were injured and passed, right? Like So that's just terrible that things like that can happen.
Because I know, and I also read that it was, the shooter was an Asian person as well. My heart goes out to all the families and the community that are affected by this tragedy. It is really hard to really even like talk about because obviously we don't have all the information. Yeah. And another thing too, it's like every time we think about what you can partake in and something happening there, it really hits so close to home. I mean, like, think about it. If there's something that was going, if we had a city like that where there was more activities where we are celebrating, can you imagine having someone come in and like just changing your whole world just changes upside down?
No, I definitely, I can't imagine that stuff, and I don't want to imagine it. It's just sad that we live in this type of society right now that we are seeing more and more of these type of things. I'm hoping that people can dig a little bit deeper and hopefully can find reasons why this has happened. Obviously, if somebody's doing this, we have to look at the mental aspect. And unfortunately, as Asians, we definitely don't look at mental health as something that affects people. I mean, come on. I mean, if I ever told my dad that I had some mental health issue, he'd be like,
I'll kick your ass for some.
Let me show you a mental health issue, right? Like mental health didn't play. It wasn't something that we ever discussed or even talked about.
Even honestly, even today, I remember like when my dad had dementia, right? My family, because I have, my mom's older, my siblings are older. They didn't see that it was his brain, that was causing him to have a certain behavior. And so like, I didn't really know much about dementia either. So I had to do my own research, and it allowed me to have compassion for my dad and to understand that that's not who he is. Unfortunately, something else is controlling him. So trying to explain that to your mom and your siblings and in the right terms, because my Khmer to English is just not, or English to Khmer is just not the best.
Well, it wasn't at that time.
Yeah. So it's just really, really hard to explain to them, and then now I think that they're starting to understand it more because more and more people around here are having the same things, and so they can like, oh, that's what's going on. Because back home, when I would ask, when they would talk about a family member and they'll say that they passed away, and I was like, why did they pass away? And they're like, oh, they just fell asleep and they died. There was never a cause of death for them because they just didn't know. They didn't have that knowledge.
They didn't have the resources, right? And then when you think about I think also the society, the United States, we have a different society here, a different culture, and of what we as people have to deal with on a daily basis. I mean, there's not a lot of, when you go to, like, for example, a third world country like Asia, and you're going into the Southeast Asian areas where people don't work every day, their mind frame on what they're concerned about is very limited. It's not like in the United States of what we have to process and what we have to do to keep up with just in general, just to live a life, right? Yeah. I mean, you think about all the things that you have to do just to make a living and to survive. Back in the days, people can say this all the time, every generation, as we keep on going, there's more and more things that you add on. I look at it as like, okay, my parents, they were able to raise us at a certain extent to, at least feed us and clothe us and, put a roof over our head. It was a lot cheaper. Now kids need internet. They need phones.
Do they need internet?
Right. It's these are things that they need just to even be able to keep up with, in general, life, the way that we live here in the United States. but that's to me, there's just, so mental health was not something that they really worry about over there, because I don't feel like they have the same type of mental, uh, the pressure that comes with living in the United States.
I think their mental health, actually, when I think back to like some of the things that my family went through, for instance, we're talking about making a living here.
Right.
I'm thinking about cultural things, like for instance, like, oh, you can't date, so if you like somebody in a family that you're not supposed to date, that's also a mental issue too, that they
Yes.
have to deal with, of like falling in love and then not being accepted. So there's different kinds of mental illness. I think that each country or each culture kind of deals with more than others, but in like in America, for sure, it's like the pressure of being able to survive every day, to make a living,
Yes.
because everything just costs so much money,
Yeah, I mean, right now everything costs a ton of money, but
Yeah, but then and like, listen, I'm just thinking back to like, it's just stories I hear from people, like, or in my own family, when so and so like is falling in love with somebody, but the rules in the family is that you can't date. That's mental illness, and I actually have heard of stories just from when I was younger of people even committing suicide because they were either, they couldn't date the person they wanted to be with, and it's like
yeah.
it becomes gosh, like it's something that's not talked about in our culture, in our communities, it all, and then it all, and the things that I would hear back, I'm just thinking back when I was younger, the things I would hear the old people say was, how can they do this to their family, versus like,
Right.
that no one's ever thinking about the person, like, okay, did anyone check up on this person? Did anyone realize that this person had so much mental issues that they were dealing with because that they couldn't talk to their families about, So, yeah, so back to what you said, the mental illness varies in all kinds of topics, categories,
Yeah.
but
But I think also it comes down to there's some choice too. I think in regards to, you know, uh, over there was you have limited resources and limited choice.
yeah,
So either you had a choice that you were going to get over whatever that you're trying to get over, or guess what, you were going to die, right? Like, I mean, they were just kind of like life and death situation too, right? When you think about war, when you think about displacement, home. If you
yeah,
didn't feed your family, like literally, you have no other choice. Like either you're going to do this or you're not going to do this.
yeah,
And that's kind of how, like with here, we have choices, we have options, we have
yeah,
things that, you know, I mean, I want, for example, us talking to the kids about making choices, right? Me giving them choices, giving them different opportunities and picks. But the problem is right now is that I'm not giving them, even though I'm giving them choices, I'm not showing them the repercussions of the choice that they do make, and if it's a bad choice, because I'm still providing it for them, right?
yeah,
So that's kind of that. Now that's my fault because
yeah,
I'm not showing them. Hey, I just want to, like today, I told them, it's like, hey, dude, I got a reminder that that I need to pay. Because I set reminders for myself that I need to pay a credit card bill. And so today I reminded them, I was like, hey, you guys need to be thoughtful so you can be present, meaning that, hey, think about what you're doing today. If there's snow outside, hey, the snow needs to get shoveled.
it's not gonna
Does
show
your
it
dad
today.
have to come out and do I have to shovel every single house, or do I got to shovel every single time that, or food?
Yeah.
You guys just come out when you smell food? What? That's crazy,
Gosh, what's so
right?
crazy is not that you're saying that. I remember my mom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Every day, well, not every day, but every weekend, she would be like, because we would literally stay in bed and then we smell the food and like we're rushing downstairs, okay,
Right.
and she'll just start yelling. Like there was like no hello, no nothing. It's like if all just because you smell the food, you just come down, but you didn't help do anything. In my,
Nothing.
I know, I never remember thinking like I'm a kid.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's exactly what they think.
Yeah, I'm sure they do think that way.
I know
And-
because like my mom couldn't explain.
Yeah.
Instead, she just yelled, and it's like, what the hell's her problem? Like,
Right. To me, it's just you got to put in a little bit of work, a little
Yeah,
bit of thought.
for sure.
You got to earn your keep, and that's just the way that's the way I parent.
Yeah.
I always let them know that they have to earn their keep around here. It's just not fair to everybody else. We always talk about the pie, right? Like we got a pie. I'm gonna divide this pie, and every time that you guys don't do your slice of the pie, then guess what? Somebody else has to pick up that piece of the pie. And then all of a sudden, I mean, if you guys do nothing, then one person is doing all the pie work. So I think it's always a work in progress with these kids.
It is.
It's never ending. I mean, parenting it's very difficult. I mean, I don't know anybody who is a perfect parent. I'm not a perfect parent.
Well, there's no such thing as a perfect person in general. So
right.
I mean, you do what you can, and you can only do what you know. So like as we evolve as humans, we start to learn and start to resonate even with our own parents. And so therefore, like just when the things that we complain about our kids, I always think back to like, oh shoot, that's how my mom must have felt, like it's, and so I watched the Joy Luck Club. Finally, I watched it, and
that's something I haven't seen.
Oh, why didn't you watch it with me?
Girl, I was not trying to watch Joy Luck Club.
Have you seen it? Did you cry? Oh my God, I was in tears the entire time. I couldn't help but think about my mom and my sisters and their daughters, right? Because obviously there's this like barrier of generations, of what each person's gone through, because everyone's in a different environment. And so your experience is going to be a lot different from the other person. And I felt that so much because my mom had me at 43. My sisters are 20 plus older years than me. And so I remember just like as a little girl, they always remind me that they came here and they sacrificed so much. And I was like, so, and what? Because I didn't understand where they came from. I could not even envision what they went through, even if they told me, because I never lived it. And like around me, there is no war. So I couldn't even imagine
You didn't
a war.
embody it, right? You didn't embody it. You didn't feel it. You didn't experience that actual moment. The same thing.
Yeah.
This is why the American culture, the way that it is over time, why people lose culture, because you start to lose the experience of what your family had before. I don't know if you guys ever, I watch Yellowstone. And if you look at the main character, the father, he's trying to preserve this thing that his family, had this land. And then in some of the shows, episodes, he's always like, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this for nothing, because his kids didn't respect it the way that he respected it, or wanted it the same way that he wanted it. He had a son that, he's hoping that would take over this land, this ranch, and take care of it. But he's starting to see that that's not the case. So that's kind of the same thing. You start to, as people live in this society, which to me, we're really focused on individuality, which I agree to certain aspects, but I also think that you start to lose that whole family orientated thing that a lot of great families still hold, very strong. And I don't know. And in my opinion, that's where you start to see a lose of tradition and cultures, and then, or you pick up new and adapt to new different. So that's another beautiful thing about the American culture, is that you can pick up and choose different traditions and cultures and apply it to your life and to your family.
Yeah, while still holding some of the traditional things that you value.
That's why we're a blended country. That's what's beautiful about this country, is that you are able to do that, and it's okay. Who's going to tell you can't do it, right? I mean, it's just like anything else. You could believe in any religion you want and whatever, eat any food. It's the same thing. I feel the same way. I want to pick and choose from, what cultures do what and why they do it. I want to implement that in with my family, right? There's certain things that I didn't learn as a child. I can't help it. My father grew up and, he grew up in a dictatorship type of home, right? So it's at the same way he raised us as like a dictatorship home. These are things that we can say, hey, this worked for us, this didn't work for us, and kind of go from there. And that's how I like to do. I love being able to see everybody's cultures.
Yes, and watching shows like that will show you that, because sometimes we don't have access to that,
Yeah, you don't know that life.
No, you don't know that life at all. And so that's what's so great about TV. I need to start watching more TV. Yeah. Because
well, me, when I get some time, I'll binge at night. I only watch TV at night.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, because I know when I watched the Joy Luck Club, I I wish I would have watched it sooner because I feel like I would have understood my mom and sisters a lot sooner too. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I watched it because now I can really feel my mom and my sisters that much more. But I remember at one point, Campbell, my son, he was doing artwork and he kind of was watching it too. And so he came to me and he was crying. This is the scene where the mom had to leave her twin daughters behind during the war. And it made me think of my mom. So my mom had there's 8 of us, but she did have 3 sons as well. And while escaping the war, she lost her 3 sons.
And how old were they again?
Gosh, she told me and I didn't write it down. I need to do that. But I believe they said like 10, 6, and maybe 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they, when you think of that age, I mean, we have kids now. And it just, when she would tell me
they would be devastated if they lost one of their siblings.
She told me the story when I was younger, but again, I wasn't a mom. I had no idea what she's talking about. And I'm just like, oh, I have 3 brothers. Oh, cool. Like they're not here no more. Cool. Like I wasn't interested. It's so weird to say and to think and look back, but I just couldn't immerse myself into what my mom went through. I
don't think it's weird. It's just that you didn't experience it you weren't a mother yet and you didn't understand. And I think it's okay I think that's another thing everybody feels like you should be sensitive to everything that you hear that is sensitive to another person. But I think you should have the free thought that to be like, you know what? Later in life, just like you're doing now, you're looking back like, you know what? I now know and I understand. And it's okay because you didn't know. It's just like...
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. But I mean, of course, like it's one of those things where like, gosh, I wish I would have known. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. Instead of having that like regret, instead of just like embrace it, like at least I know and I can tell my mom, I can talk to her, you know, because it's crazy because we went through a loss as well. Yeah. And I remember with my mom, when I called her to tell her that I'm at the hospital, I'm about to give birth and I am, she's probably not going to survive, Right. And, she laughed over the phone. I remember her like, what'd you do? Yeah. And I remember I was so mad, like so mad, and all it couldn't run through my head, I'm like, you lost 3 sons, how can you not understand what I'm going through? But it's so crazy. So I hung up on her. My dad calls me and I talked to my dad and so my mom doesn't drive. And so my dad ended up coming to the hospital, left her at home because he was mad at her for making me mad. But then she, of course, found a ride and she showed up as well too. But it's just really interesting now that I've talked to my mom a lot about just everything. We talk about life. We talk about death. We talk about so many things that I'm at peace with like knowing about death and stuff like that. And so for me, I understand the reason why my mom reacted the way she did to me. She had so many years to, when going back to Cambodia, when she had to leave her, when she lost her 3 boys, she could not do the ceremonial things that you do when you lose a loved one. Right. She literally had to pick up and leave again,
Yeah, there's no choice.
There's no choice. And
this goes back to that thing where I tell you have no choice.
And it was within a 2-month period. I can't even imagine that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so and for her, like, I've never seen her, she cries sometimes talking about it, but she's someone that lives in the present so much that the past like kind of shapes her, but she is so much stronger because she's able to see the blessings that she currently has. Not that she forgot about her sons, but she's looking at it like, wow, I was able to have more children even afterwards. Yeah. I was able to have all these grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren. I mean, like, that's a blessed life, But my mom, she was able to keep her sons in a lot of our memories. And then I had this like aha moment when I had 3 boys. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I had 3 boys. I was like, that's kind of like my mom's loss. She gained it. Yeah, it was my gain and her gain in grandsons, like it's just such a beautiful, when you see that, that circle of life kind of happen, it's so beautiful. And like, it's a really cool feeling to be able to kind of accept things for what they are, and just feel so blessed for
Yeah, no,
whatever
I-
you have.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, feeling gratitude for what you have is a daily practice that
Yes.
a lot of people need to do, as long as
Yeah.
you're really focusing on, what you have and not being concerned about what you don't have.
Yeah.
Your life is a lot less stressed.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So that movie just touched me in so many ways. And a lot, there's stories in there that my mom, for instance, like she always said that her mother-in-law wasn't good to her. Well, there's one of the moms that was looking back on her life, not the mom, but the mom's looking back on her mom's life, and it's just interesting to see a lot of that in the Asian culture because my mom, she didn't have a good relationship with her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law was really mean to her, which is my grandma, and I have never met her, but it's the craziest thing. So like my mom said she prayed every day that her daughters, which there's 5 of us, that never had to go through what she went through with her mother-in-law. And so all 5 of us never met our mother-in-laws besides Bang Sarai.
I was gonna say Bang Sarai.
Yeah, that's the only one that met her mother-in-law. And she had a really great one, So it's just really interesting that, like how that panned out. Not, you know what I mean? Like I wish I would have met your mom, like I think that her and I would have gotten along very well.
Yeah, I don't know what type of person I'd be if I still had my mom, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's true because
Because I'm a mama's boy.
yeah, that is true.
Like,
yeah.
I was a mama's boy, so I don't know what type of person I would have been if I had a mama, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what type
Yeah.
of person I would be. But what I do know is that when I did lose my mom, it changed me drastically. So,
And at the time, you probably didn't even realize that it changed you drastically, did it? Or did you know?
no, you didn't know. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, you had no choice. I had no choice. Either I was to sit there and I can,
Mope.
mope, cry, and but I had my own ways of dealing with things,
Yeah.
and I did what I did to get through. I mean, there's times. I mean, even now,
Yeah.
it's been 20 years, I think. 20 years, so a little bit over.
It'll be
It'll be
20
21.
years this
21 this year.
years. Yeah, because she
Yeah,
2002.
2002 is when she passed.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be
Yeah, so
21
20
years
years.
this February.
Yeah.
And what I can say is that I can't say like I miss her, right? Like yes, I miss moments of what life could have been, but again, I'm not the type of person to think about, oh, well, this is what life could have been, right?
Yeah.
Because that's very bad for anybody to think that way, right? Like, oh, if my mom was here, in times of when,
Because then you're thinking of the past, and
Yes.
then you're thinking of the future.
Yes.
You're not thinking
Yes.
of your present moment.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, are there times where I'm having a great time and a great moment? I'm like, man,
She's here.
my mom she would enjoy this moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think about the I wish she was here type thing. She would enjoy this moment. right?
Yes, yes. Like, and that's what the same way I feel about my dad. Anytime we have family gatherings or it's in this house,
Yeah.
I always think like dad would love this. Like, and in a way, it's like I don't ever think, oh, I wish he was here because I feel like he is always here.
Yeah.
So it's like an interesting feeling.
It's in your heart.
In your heart, yeah. So they're around. It's just how you view things, and
Yeah. Everybody has different thoughts and what they feel about that.
Yeah.
That's just how I've always dealt with. We talked about this
Loss.
the other day with loss, and I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing things, and I really can just cut things off,
Yeah.
and just that's my way of dealing with stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how I get over certain things that I want to get over.
Well, I remember when my dad passed away. So my dad passed away 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a moment where everyone was at our house. And I went to go hide in the room because there was just so many people and I just needed to rest.
Yeah.
And you came and you hugged me and you said, this is going to change your life. Like you're going to change.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, how, but I didn't realize how much change. I mean, I've grown so much in the last 6
Yeah.
years. I mean, like drastically with the loss of my father.
Yeah.
So it's just it's interesting to look at it that way to say like you found yourself in a way after a loss as well too. Like,
Yeah, other teachings that they've taught you.
Yes.
Again, it goes back to it's a daily training. You hear them. They're always talking to you. They're always saying, like me talking to our children the same way. I know that when I die, they're gonna be like, dude, my dad used to always say that, or
they still do.
I know they do already, but I mean, it's gonna be more prevalent when I pass, right? When I'm no longer here to tell them those things, they will remember those things. They'll be like, dude, I just sound just like my dad.
I know, because like the one thing my dad told me before he passed away was he wished, and he's basically banking on me to keep our family, the tightness together, right? Yeah. And I felt like that was
that culture.
To hold that, because in my family, it is like with the amount of people in our family, we are super tight knit, super close. Yep. It's really rare. I thought that was normal for everyone. Then I meet people and I only see them be close to just their immediate. Mm-hmm. My dad has us close to our first cousins, second cousins, third cousins. It's insane the amount of people we are connected with. But I didn't realize how overwhelming that can feel too, And so it's just kind of crazy. Now that I'm here, and even though I'm the youngest in the family, I do feel a sense of responsibility to keep that role, but at the same time, not to the extent of what my dad has always done, because now that I'm thinking about his life, like, God, I can only imagine how much stress he had on himself because of the responsibility he put on himself, because he was the only one in America, and his whole family lived in Cambodia. So his responsibility of like being the one that took care of everyone over in Cambodia by sending the money, never retiring because he had to keep working. It becomes a really just a hard thing to have one human being do, right? Yeah. And
it is. It's difficult.
It is. And then I start thinking about all his illnesses, what the cause of it, and then it makes me, so those are things that I saw now that I'm older, and that I'm okay with letting go of some traditions to make sure that I'll be okay, and that goes back to the Lunar New Year traditions that you guys had in your family, when it started out being a lot of people, and then it became to where it's just like the immediate family, and even then it's just the immediate siblings. There's not a whole lot of nephews or nieces that are there, grandkids. Right. So it is so having to step away from what traditions were, it's hard, but at the same time, sometimes it's needed unless you have a group of people that are willing to take part in it. Because today, one of your nephews actually said to me how he wished that the family got together more, not just during times of holidays, that just more like family reunions, things like that.
Or just weekends, you know what I mean? Or just get together.
And what I told him too, I was like, we're all old enough to be able to to say, hey, let's get together. Let's do something, It doesn't have to be the one person that usually does the hosting. It could be everyone's input. So.
Yep. No, I agree. So, I mean, basically, with this, I just like to say Happy New Year to everybody. Happy Lunar New Year to everybody around the world. I mean, send in your comments or, suggestions or what you've done with your family. Again, I like to pick up from different families and cultures. Not everything that I do is going to be exactly what I want. So I like to hear what you guys do for tradition. And, I'd love to hear more and kind of even touch base on that a little bit more. So feel free to comment or send us an email at, is it stories@thegardenofstorytelling.com. So stories@thegardenofstorytelling.com.
Yes, I want to say Happy Lunar New Year to those that celebrate it as well. And I would love to hear what your traditions are and what are some traditions that you had growing up that you guys kind of let go and now are creating new traditions, or just having those traditions out completely. So I would love to hear more about that. If you can just comment, we would love any information you can give us. So
thanks,
Happy Lunar New Year.
Happy Lunar New Year.
Thank you.
This time playing tricks on us. The way